What were your first initial thoughts?
This could have easily been called Invasion of the Woke People. Like the pod people, woke people want you to think like them, act like them. And also like pod people, if you don't agree with them, they scream and point at you. Then more woke people come and scream and point at you.
Lights, camera, and action. Welcome to the I Remember Liking That Movie podcast. Remember those childhood movies you loved? We're going to watch them again and find out if they're still as amazing as you remember. Let's get ready to join Anna and Jimmy as they go back and watch those movies you remember being oh so awesomely good. Horror movies that scared. Comedy movies that dared.
Damn!
And action movies so preposterously ludicrous that they defied the laws of common sense. Now, here's your hosts, Anna Santos and Jimmy Coates.
Okay, welcome to the I Remember Liking That Movie podcast. Today we are going back to the 70s, 1978, and we are going to preview Invasion of the Body Snatchers. And Invasion of the Body Snatchers was directed by Philip Kaufman. He directed quite a few things, like he's known for The Right Stuff. He wrote Raiders of the Lost Ark. He didn't direct a lot of movies, but the movies that one of my favorite movies that kind of under the radar was called The Wanderers. I don't know if you've seen it.
It sounds very familiar.
It's a gang movie, and it came out around the same time as The Outsiders, and it kind of slid under the radar of most people.
I've probably seen it, but it didn't register what it was.
And he directed Henry and June, The Rising Sun, The Right Stuff. So, and it stars, I don't think a lot of people realize, well, a lot of people that watch movies probably do or are into older movies. Donald Southerland was huge back in the 70s, early 80s. Like he was a pretty big star. And he's still into the 90s and 2000s. I love Donald Southerland.
He's an incredible talent. And nobody does like underground creepy better than him.
Oh yeah, he can play good guy, but he can play a great bad guy.
Oh, because he does such a great nuanced villain that you're like, even when he's saying something nice, you're just sitting there going, nah, man, there's something wrong with you. There's something up. And it's such an underrated talent because it's easy to go over the top with villainy and it's easy to be like a forthright villain. But to do like undercover villain where every part of his performance just has a discomfort to it that you feel, perfect. I love him.
And also stars Brooke Adams, who was big in the 70s, 80s. She did.
And 80s, yeah.
Yeah. Days of Heaven, The Dead Zone. She's been in quite a few movies. And it stars Spock, Leonard Nimoy. It stars Jeff Goldblum. So it's got a great cast. And actually, I'm looking at it here. It has a lot of actors that you know their faces.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah. What do you remember about Invasion of the Body Snatchers?
Okay. It's been a long time since I've seen this movie, probably close to 30 years. And I think I've only seen it once. What I remember is being very uncomfortable and it creeping me out. But I liked it. I liked it a lot. I'm also a big sci-fi fantasy fan. I remember liking it and I remember it making me very uncomfortable. And I remember thinking, God, do we have copies running around? Are we being kidnapped and replaced?
Yeah. Sometimes it seems like now we are.
Right?
I remember the first time I watched this movie, I did not like it. It's because I was younger and there was a lot of talking. I was like, oh, aliens. And then like, where's the pew pews and the teeth and And it was not like that. The second time round, I remember enjoying it a lot more. But it has been, it could very well have been 30 years since I've seen it. I don't know why.
You know what? It's not something that shows up on TV a lot. And for a long time, they wouldn't have produced DVDs for this in a lot of the mainstream video stores. You might have found it in the indie ones, but not at like Blockbuster.
And the one thing I do love about going back and watching the 70s is, if people probably realize this if they do watch a lot of 70s, not every movie, but a lot of 70s movies are gritty, bleak.
Mm-hmm.
They don't have the happiest endings, and that's straight across the board of this. There are a few movies, but even action movies, drama movies, science fiction movies, which is really cool. Like, I do remember loving that about the 70s.
There was a lot less fairy tale goodness. And I find, like, especially from the 60s moving into the 70s, you know, once they got past the, like, kind of the free love movement and all of that, there was very much this is the reality of the world. And then I think in the 80s, we moved back to, God, can't we just be happy?
Yeah, the good guy wins. Fairy tales do come true and all that stuff. Yeah.
There's always a happy ending.
Yeah.
And I think in the 70s, there was a lot of like, no, let's examine life as it really is.
Yeah. I think by the end of the 70s, they were like, oh my God, I'm spent. I'm like,
yeah, I think all it took was one guy. One guy just walked out of the movie theater and he's like, fuck this shit. Let's watch something happy.
I'm going to go make a movie called Porky's and the never ending story. Actually, that's kind of bleak too.
I was going to say, I'm like, doesn't everybody carry a little bit of childhood trauma from that movie?
Yeah. But the ending is good.
Yes.
But before you get to the ending, yes, it's very bleak.
Yeah, that was a definite, like, there's a journey. There's a hero journey here that we have to make our way through.
I've seen a few memes where it's the 80s trauma of being a kid, and it's the Atreys and the horse. I can't remember the horse name. Yeah, dying in the mud.
Honestly, I only watched The Neverending Story once, and I was like, and that's enough.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, I watched that quite a bit. That was a great movie.
No, I only watched it once, and I was like, I liked it, but I was like, nah, man. Because there's some movies where there's something in it, like a scene where it kind of breaks me a little bit. And I'm like, I can never go through that again. But thank you. That was a lovely movie.
All right. Well, let's look at the box office for Invasion of the Body Snatchers. It was released on December 22nd, 1978. It had a budget of $3.5 million.
Oh.
It was released over Christmas weekend of 1978. Invasion of the Body Snatchers grossed nearly $25 million, equivalent to $117 million in 2023. It's not 2023, but whatever. And if you look at a 3-time multiplier, 3 and a bit, almost 16 million to make, and it made 117, even with everything else. This movie made a bit of money.
That's impressive.
Yeah.
That's surprising that it didn't get as much more like cable play and TV play.
Yeah. Yeah. Cause it was, I remember everyone knew about it.
Everybody knew about it. I think it's the Blockbuster versus like Queen Street video rental movies, because I used to find the most random stuff at Queen Street, and it was all Blockbuster stuff at Blockbuster. So,
all right, let's go to the tail of the tape. Invasion of the Body Snatchers, 1978, is just flat out called a science fiction on Rotten Tomatoes. It's rated PG. And it comes in at a 1 hour and 55 minutes.
That's a lot of time.
Taglines. Get some sleep.
The fuck?
They get you when you fall asleep.
Yeah, I know,
but you don't. If you've never seen the movie,
the movie, that doesn't say anything except the movie's boring, so you're going to fall asleep during it.
Well, watch out. They get you while you're sleeping. That's a little more self-explanatory.
A little more self-explanatory, but too wordy.
Sleep, and be born again into a world without fear and hate.
Odd, but I get where they're coming from.
On December 28th, try to stay awake. You thought the other one makes it sound like the movie's boring.
Jesus Christ.
I would look at that and go, wait, is this a drama? Am I gonna fall asleep watching this fucking movie?
Honestly, I'd be like, well, if you're telling me to try and stay awake, why am I going to watch this?
Yeah. How boring is this shit? Pray for the human race.
Okay, that's a good one.
You'll never close your eyes again.
Perfect.
From Deep Space.
No.
This is an advanced one sheet, meaning this was the poster that came out before in advance of the release.
No.
And the same as the next one. The seed is planted, terror grows.
Okay, that's a good one.
Yeah, that's not bad.
That's pretty good.
There's a couple in there that are pretty good, but yeah. Synopsis. This remake of the classic horror film is set in San Francisco. This remake of the classic horror film is set in San Francisco. Matthew Bennell, Donald Southerland, assumes that when a friend, Brooke Adams, complains of her husband's strange mood, it's a marital issue. Yeah, been there. However, he begins to worry as more people report similar observations. His concern is confirmed when writer Jack Belichick, Jeff Goldblum, and his wife, Veronica Cartwright, discovers a mutated corpse. Besieged by an invisible enemy, Bennell must work quickly before the city is consumed.
It's great. I like it.
Yeah. And here is the original poster. For all those listening, up top it says From Deep Space. It is them running, and then it looks like a alien or a roots of a plant, and then it's the same people running. It's a very brownish, white on brown, yellow, very what's the word I'm looking for? It's the 70s color tone.
I want to say ochre.
Yeah, it's very 70s looking.
It's the color of most 70s kitchens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It says Invasion of Body Snatchers. That has all the stuff underneath. It's not a bad poster. It's iconic now. Yeah, very 1970s.
Very, very 1970s.
All right, let's go to Rotten Tomatoes. 70 critic reviews comes in at 93%.
Wow.
That's pretty high.
That's super high.
We did the Oscar redo, very high ratings, but there hasn't been too many 90%.
No, there haven't.
No.
Even for the Oscar redos.
Yeah, even they weren't.
A lot of 80s.
Yes.
But not so much 90s.
25,000 audience reviews comes in at 82%.
Also impressive.
So, yeah. Here is the critics' consensus. Employing gritty camera work and evocative sound effects, Invasion of the Body Snatchers is a powerful remake that expands upon themes and ideas only lightly explored in the original.
Interesting.
All right, you can start with the fresh.
I'm ready. Surprisingly, the film is a triumph. For once, a remake has not trespassed the original, but re-explored, updated, and defined it for a new audience. John Baxter, Starburst.
One of the greatest science fiction horror films of all time. Chris Alexander on film.
It's unnerving, no doubt, but there's a touch of humor courtesy of Leonard Nimoy and Jeff Goldblum. They hold the horror at bay long enough for all hope to slip away. Michael J. Casey, Boulder Weekly, original score 4.5 out of 5.
This terrific remake never lets the audience forget that it should be frightened. Wesley Lovell, Cinema Site, original score 3.5 out of 4. Invasion
of the Body Snatchers validates the entire concept of remakes. Variety staff, Variety. Gives remakes a good name. Joe Morgenstern, Wall Street Journal.
It's not only the best of the 4 films based on Jack Finney's story, but also one of the best films of the 1970s. Jeffrey M. Anderson, Combustible Celluloid.
Ending still freaks me out. I'm serious. Even 25 years later, stop laughing at me. Widget Walls, needcoffee.com, original score 4 out of 5. That bodes well.
Yeah, I like that one. This will read less like a review and more like a Valentine, but this is a very, very special film, a forgotten classic of the 70s cinema. James Rocci, Netflix, original score 5 out of 5. There were not a lot of, when you get 93%, there's not a lot.
Yeah. Despite a few creepy moments and some fascinating special effects, the remake of Invasion of the Body Snatchers is a disappointment. Joe Layden, The Times.
All the tension and scariness of the original has gone, and in its place is a bit of floppy old cabbage. See the 50s version if you can. Ted Whitehead, The Spectator. Why do I like this? Is some old 78-year-old white dude all
'Cause it
pissy because
sounds
they
like one.
remade they remade
Floppy
his
old cabbage.
they remade his favorite science fiction movie.
This film wants to have it both ways, to have a more urbane, more important scope than the original, and yet retain some of its inexpensive intimacy as well. Richard Schickel, Time Magazine.
The film collapses midway because of unsure and sloppy direction, splintered story continuity, and the overacting of Adams, Cartwright, and others. TV Guide, original score, 2.5 out of 4.
Well then.
All right, IMDb. Actually, have you seen the 1950s version?
I think I have.
I don't
There
think I
was-
have.
there
I've
was
seen
a
the
time-
newer ones.
Yeah. There was a time where I was watching a lot of movies from especially B movies, like from the 40s and 50s. Like if it was sci-fi from the 50s, I was watching it. I think I might have it on DVD though, because I bought this collection, a horror collection, and it has literally like 100 movies in it.
Oh, yeah, okay.
So I think it's in there, if I'm
Yeah.
not mistaken.
Because we're about to do IMDb, and there was a lot of IMDb ones where it was not as good as the original. Some were better than the original. So actually, I wouldn't mind seeing the original. Because I've seen the one
Yeah.
from the 90s, and I remember really liking it. And I remember seeing the one from the 2000s with, is it Nicole Kidman and 007, Daniel Craig?
I think so, yeah.
Invasion, yeah. And I remember thinking that one wasn't bad either. So, yeah, actually, I wouldn't mind seeing all of them. All right. IMDb. 70,000 user ratings has this coming in at 7.4.
Interesting.
Yeah. You may go with all the, because there are so many 10 out of 10s.
Yes. Here's the 10 out of 10 collection.
Yep.
Okay, so incredibly creepy. MJ Lancaster _ATL. The original 1956 version was excellent. This version is outstanding. Mark Waltz. The best sci-fi thriller of all time. J. Kenny 2. An excellent remake that surpasses the original and all other versions since. The Expatriate 700, yeah. A true masterpiece, a unique mix of special effects, suspense, and horror. Best movies. These were all 10 out of 10. And I feel good about this.
Yeah, and that's, I don't know. Yeah. Between this and the Rotten Tomatoes score, I'm very excited about seeing this movie.
Me too.
So it doesn't suck. A remarkable science fiction tale that still stuns, baffles, and chills. 9 out of 10. Punch 87.
Beautifully made and scary as heck. 8 out of 10. Henry on Hillside.
Scary as heck. Why do I see another
Scary as
old man, old white guy with white hair?
He's Henry sitting on the hillside to tell us it's scary as heck.
Whittling on his porch. It'll give you chills. 7 out of 10. Winds of Destination.
Great cast, great effects, weak on script. 6 out of 10. Gavin 6942.
Straight remake that only adds gross out effects. 5 out of 10. Blot 2319-1.
Clumsy, outdated, overrated, slow, and dumb. 4 out of 10. Ishwarmail.
Sure.
Sure.
Invasion of the Golden Perms. 3 out of 10. Darius. Yeah, they're 70. Even men wore a lot of perms in the 70s.
Oh, everybody wore their curls. Everybody wore their curls.
Yeah. There was no 2 out of 10, but there was
a collection of 1 out of 10.
Collection of quite a few.
All right. One of the worst films that I've ever endured. Thank you, Alan Warland, for letting us know. One of the worst remakes ever. Jacob John Taylor 1. This is a classic? Please. Movie Girl 25464. Don't waste your time. Both other versions are much better. Vince Gambini. Jeff Goldblum. Freak Fire 1.
1 out of 10. Their whole thing was just fucking Jeff
Jeff
Goldblum.
Goldblum.
1 out of 10.
Fuck him.
All right. Yeah, I am very excited about watching this movie. So we've done the box office, tail of the tape, and the reviews. So let us watch the trailer and then make our predictions on Invasion of the Body Snatchers.
They come from a dying world. They drift through the universe, pushed on by the solar winds. They adapt, and they survive. The function of all life is survival. Sleep, sleep, sleep. From deep space, sleep. The seed is planted. Sleep, sleep. Terror grows. Like the others.
Elizabeth, wake up! Get you when you sleep. Sit up!
Invasion of the Body Snatchers.
It's got no detail, no character. It's unformed.
All of a sudden, they're growing like parasites. Is it contagious? People are being duplicated.
How do you know my name? I didn't tell you my name.
I can't find anything in here that looks like a body.
My side's nosebleed.
It looked right at me.
You're looking at it as if it was human. It was not human.
Now, the classic fear begins to grow
We're being cornered.
in a modern masterpiece of science
They're
fiction.
barricading the street.
Invasion of the Body Snatchers.
Get down!
Starring Donald Southerland, Brooke Adams, Leonard Nimoy. Invasion of the Body Snatchers. From deep space, the seed is planted. Terror grows.
So Scream Factory has the Blu-ray out now. So there is the trailer.
The bagpipes fucked me up.
That was weird.
I feel like the trailer wasn't as impactful as it could have been because I was like, those are bagpipes.
Yeah, that was a little different.
Yeah. I still think it'll be good. Now I'm a little concerned about overacting a little bit.
Well, I don't think there'll be bagpipes through the whole thing. The overacting, yeah. It does look very 70-ish.
Yes.
It's not modern cinema anymore.
No.
I think I'm gonna like it. I think I'm gonna enjoy it.
I think
I
I'll
hope so.
enjoy it.
Yeah.
I don't want it to be bad.
No, or boring, or
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. Well, we'll see.
We'll see. Okay, we are going to go watch Invasion of the Body Snatchers, and when we get back, unless we've been turned into pod people ourselves, yeah, if we give it a really, really good review, you might be like, they
Yeah.
got them. They got to them.
They fell asleep during the movie,
Yeah.
and this is what happens.
This movie is great. All right, we're going to go watch it. When we get back, we are going to review it.
Go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.
Delicious things to eat.
The popcorn can't be beat. The sparkling drinks are just dandy. The chocolate bars and the candy. So let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat. Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.
And now, on with the show.
Ooh, wasn't that scary, kid? Yeah. Okay. Did you watch the 1978 sci-fi classic Invasion of the Body Snatchers?
Yes, I did.
And your initial thoughts?
Underwhelming.
Underwhelming.
Yeah, maybe I just read too many really great reviews.
We did read a lot of great reviews.
There were a lot of really great reviews.
Yeah.
So, I mean, not bad. Actually, very good. Just a little underwhelming. And there were a few things that they do in this film that really grates on my nerves in films in general. And like those kind of would take me out and I'd be like, we were going so well.
Yeah.
What were your first initial thoughts?
This could have easily been called Invasion of the Woke People. Like the pod people, woke people want you to think like them, act like them. And also like pod people, if you don't agree with them, they scream and point at you. Then more woke people come and scream and point at you.
Okay.
I'm glad I watched the movie. It's not a perfect movie. I did enjoy it for what it was, and it's not that I didn't enjoy it. It underwhelmed, not as a whole, but there were underwhelming parts of the movie for me that, like I said, I did like it. I did it, but yes, there were.
I found a lot of times when it was gaining momentum and you were really getting into it, something would happen to throw you out of it again. And you're just like, man, I was super invested and now I'm distracted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It really makes me want to watch the other ones, like including like the original Invasion of the Body Snatchers, because like you, I'm not sure. I think I have watched it, but I'm not 100% sure.
There was a time I was watching a lot of movies that were very similar, so they tend to blend together.
Yeah. But the Body Snatchers from 1993, the 2007 Invasion, Jack Finney's book, Invasion of the Body Snatchers, was also the basis for 1998's The Faculty.
Yes, and I love that movie.
Yeah. And then even Puppet Master from 1994, I have it here, which stars Donald Southerland. It's not based on the book or anything, but it reads, the Earth is invaded by stingray-shaped alien slugs that ride on people's backs and control their minds. So not exactly like, but adjacent.
Yeah, adjacent.
Yeah. Yeah, I absolutely love The Faculty. I remember. I have not seen that in
it's
in a
one of
while.
my regular rewatches. It's on Prime, I think. And I regularly, sometimes I'm like, I just want to watch a bunch of like 90s teenagers run from parasitic aliens. And it feels good.
Yeah. I remember Invasion from 2007 being a little slow, and they altered it a bit. I remember the aliens puking or spitting in drinks to infect people.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I'm kind of glad I didn't buy it because I rented it. I almost did. And then I thought, for the price of the digital, I might as well buy the Blu-ray with some special features. So I rented under the assumption I could buy it if it was really, really good.
I signed up for a free trial.
I was going to do that.
Yeah, because I was like, what, 30 days? Sure. Let's see what else Super Channel has to offer me.
Yeah, I was going to do that. Yeah, I was going to.
I'm going to forget, and it's just going to become another subscription for me.
And it's another. That's exactly why I didn't. I forgot about a whole bunch of them renewed this week, like Paramount, but I do yearly. So I've had hundreds of dollars come out of my account or off my card or whatever.
Yeah.
And I was I probably would have got them anyways, but I was thinking about getting rid of one or two because I don't think I watch a lot, but not enough to, I don't know. It's just nice to have there in case.
It's funny because every time I have the thought, like, okay, I'm going to stop. Like, I'm going to cancel a couple of these. Inevitably, that week or the week after, I see something and I'm like, oh, I want to watch that. And it's on one of the subscriptions that I'm like, I should cancel that. I
got rid of AMC Plus, and then that new where Rick Grimes is back for The Walking Dead is back on. Like, oh, and then that new movie, The Late Night with the Devil. It's this IFC film. Oh, watch the preview. It looks phenomenal, and it's been out in theaters limited, and now it's going to be streaming on Shudder and AMC Plus. And I'm like, damn it, now I'm going to get AMC Plus again.
I still have AMC Plus because I'm like, I'm probably going to do a Walking Dead rewatch, and I'm going to do all the adjacent Walking Deads because the new the Rick Grimes and Michonne, and I was like, I want to see that one, but then I also want to see the one with Maggie and Negan, and I'm
I
like,
saw that one. That wasn't bad. The one I thought was gonna suck, which
yeah,
was Daryl going to France. I'm
yeah,
like, really? That one? And that actually turned out to be the better of them.
oh,
Yeah.
I guess I'm gonna watch Daryl in France.
But I like The Walking Dead.
I liked Walking Dead too.
Yeah, they're fine. All of them are fine.
Yeah.
All right, so let's go over Invasion of the Woke People. I mean, Invasion of the Body Snatchers.
Okay, for the record, until people started getting really fanatical, being woke literally just meant you were trying to not be an asshole. That's all it meant.
Yeah, it ain't like that anymore, though.
Well, people are getting a little aggressive.
A little.
And I don't like the term woke just because it implies that you're now cognizant of all things and you're not.
Yeah.
Because we're all learning constantly. So I'm like,
Sometimes
when
watching
people-
TikTok and YouTube shorts, an alien invasion taking over bodies and hiding among us makes a lot more sense than these are real people.
dude, if you've seen the trad wife movement and like all the red pill guys, I'm like, this is an act, right? Like, you're all just fucking doing this to get laughs, right? No, they're serious.
Well, I
They're
saw
fucking
one where
serious.
she got kicked. They took her cat collar off her. She had to remove it out of school. And she's sitting in the car and it's saying this and she's meowing. Like, a cat's pissed off.
Yeah.
This girl. And I'm like, and she's saying, they made me take my cat. I've been meowing like this for hours. I'm like, that's gotta be someone fucking around. That can't be a real goddamn person doing that.
No. That's probably a real person. And I can tell you exactly why she's like that. Because of her parents.
Yeah.
Her parents didn't raise her right.
Yeah. They said she could be anything she wants.
And that's the problem.
And she took it literally.
Yeah. My mom was like, you can do almost anything. There are some things you can't do. You can't pee standing up. I'm still trying. But also, why?
My dad said I could dig ditches.
Oh, that's nice. That's nice. It's a very practical. Everybody will always need a ditch at some point.
And that was his point. That everyone needs someone's got to dig those ditches. Why not you?
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, these people on TikTok are aliens. Well, most likely kicked off their planet for being intellectually disabled. See, I used intellectually disabled instead of mental retardation. I'm a woke pod person because I'm using politically correct verbiage.
No, you're not, because then you corrected yourself by using politically incorrect.
Thank God.
Jiminy Crickets. Who?
All right. Let's go over
for too long.
Go over the movie. A gelatinous parasitic alien race abandoned their dying planet and traveled to Earth, taking the form of small seed pods with pink flowers. We weren't wrong. This open is creepy. Like when we were talking in the preview, and it starts off and it's bleak. The music is bleak. The visuals are bleak.
Great lighting.
Oh, fantastic.
So fantastic. And the gelatinous stuff.
I wondered how they did that.
That was all I was thinking. I'm like, how did they do that? Because some of it, I was like, oh, that one, it looks like it's frozen. Oh, they must have made a jelly. How is it moving? How did they do that?
Yeah.
And like, I was like, I'm fascinated.
It wasn't computer graphics.
Oh, fuck no.
I would love to see a making of. That would be great.
Initially, I thought it was like they put like not a clear. I want to say transposed, but that's not right. But when you used to have the overhead projectors, a transparency.
Okay, yeah.
So yeah, so initially I thought it was that, but then I saw them moving and I was like, oh, maybe they just overlaid film of stuff, bacteria in a petri dish or something. But then it started moving in a weird way and I was like, no, that's not it. So I really love this opening.
Yeah, it was fantastic. And it gives you a feeling of dread and the music. Like most horror movies have the composition horror type music, but this screams this is not going to have a happy ending.
Correct.
Also, Wikipedia starts at Elizabeth Driscoll, a laboratory scientist at the San Francisco Health Department, brings a flower home. Yeah, she sees the flower. She does not recognize this flower.
Yeah.
It is a really ugly piece of shit flower, and she just brings it home. Like
it was interesting to her.
Yeah, remember when your mom yelled at you, like, what the hell is that? Do not bring that in here. This is why.
I knew better than to do that. Like,
Or
my
your
mama raised me right.
or it could be your father, like, what is wrong with you, before turning to your mother asking, is he intellectually disabled? Actually, for the record, and in my defense, I was questioned that many times throughout my childhood.
God.
And not with that politically correct verbiage. I got the old 80s, 90s verbiage.
Oh, geez. I did not get any of that verbiage, but I also knew better than to bring stuff into the house because my mother would lose her mind. And my
Yeah,
dad worked
parents
long
didn't
hours in
like-
construction. No,
Yeah, they didn't like you bringing stuff.
they didn't like you bringing stuff. But one thing I will say about what Wikipedia skipped over, she picks the flower.
Yeah.
We can all agree. And she's staring at it. And then this teacher comes in with a group of students. And my initial thought, like as she was talking to the students, she's encouraging them to pick the flowers and take them home to their families. And then she kind of turns her head and gives a look, not quite to the camera, but in the camera direction.
Yeah.
And I was like, that teacher's motherfucking creepy. Something is wrong with those flowers.
Yeah.
I'm like, this, but you get that literally just from the dialogue that she's delivering, which is not like super expository. Like it's just pick the flowers, take them home, be sure to take them home to your family. Do you have a flower? Do you have like making sure every kid has a flower?
Yeah.
And then that one look, and I was like, oh, creepy teacher.
And that's one of the problems I had with this movie, was that sometimes the dialogue was very smart.
Yeah.
Sometimes very over dramatic at times.
Oh, God, yeah.
Where it was like, but a lot of the times, like just little things like that, where it's just these subtle little parts that were quite clever.
Really, really good storytelling right there. And I was like, really good filmmaking. Like they should teach that scene.
Oh yeah.
Like you're gonna walk away and be like, a teacher's fucked up.
Yep.
She's doing something wrong. And it's so not undercover, but subtle. It's so subtle. Ooh,
yeah. Yes. She awakens the next morning to find her boyfriend Jeffrey being cold and distant while putting debris into a garbage truck. Okay, so in a short amount of time, I think the movie did a great job showing Jeffrey with certain characters in the evening, like he was watching the game, he was being playful with her.
He was a fucking douchebag.
What, playing his game?
He snapped his fucking fingers. He was watching the Warriors. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I got angry. I was like, she walks in, she's like, hi. He says nothing. Nothing. He doesn't.
Did he have his headphones on?
He has his headphones on. He's watching TV. Okay. Doesn't say a word. She says hi. She says hi again. Nothing. Then he fucking puts his hand up and he starts snapping his fingers. And I swear to God, I was like, if I could reach through the screen and break your fucking hand, I would. And then she like walks over all, oh, hey. And then he like pulls her into his lap. And that's it. And I'm like, are you fucking, I was losing my mind. I was like, honestly, I want you to die. Jeffrey, I want you to die.
It was a different time. It was a better time. What? But it did do a good job at showing like his characteristics at night. And I recognized him, the actor who played Jeffrey. But yeah, by morning, they did a good job. Obviously, there was something wrong with him. Like there was no.
Oh yeah, there was a definite. He wasn't a douchebag. He was very polite. He was very smartly dressed. He wasn't wearing his very short, fluffy robe.
Yeah.
There were a couple times I was like, "Sir, don't move too fast."
70s.
Let's not get a wind under there. But yeah, it was a definite like difference in behavior.
And while Jeffrey and Elizabeth are doing their evening thing, we segue into Matthew, a health inspector, inspecting a French restaurant.
Yes.
Where he finds rat shit in the chowder.
It's a rat turd.
It's a rat turd.
Turd.
Chowder, say it, Frenchie. Remember that Simpsons episode?
Chowder.
Chowder, say it, Frenchie.
Chowder.
I can't remember what it was. The maitre d' is like, no, monsieur, that is a caper. And he's like, rat shit, caper, rat shit, caper. He's like, if it's a caper, eat it. And he's like, no, I don't think so.
Just in case. Just in case.
Yeah, and one of the line cooks, pastry chef, I don't know, he slips away. When Matthew goes to leave, someone has thrown a brick onto his windshield of his car. A couple workers, including the one who slipped away, is standing there smoking a cigarette, and they're laughing at him or looking at him. Then the next day, she confides in Matthew. Matthew advises Elizabeth to talk to his psychiatrist friend, David Kibner, Spock, who is, during an alien invasion, paranoia everywhere. Spock is a very logical person to speak to.
Spock is, but Leonard Nimoy as Dr. Kibner is not.
No. And Matthew even goes at that part where he goes to his dry cleaner, and the guy there is like, "You're a doctor, right?" He's like, "Check out my wife." And he's like, "I'm not a doctor, but what's wrong with her? She usually bitchy all day long. Now she's quiet and respectful. Not my wife." Don't get me wrong, better, but something fishy's going on.
Oh, jeez.
So Kibner, who is promoting his new book at the bookstore, while driving there, a hysterical man warns Elizabeth and Matthew of danger as a mob pursues him. He is then killed in a hit and run, surrounded by emotionless onlookers. This is played by the very super familiar and great Kevin McCarthy, who was the star of the original Invasion of the Body Snatchers. Also, before this part, Elizabeth explains she followed her husband around all day, where he just handed boxes off and went into strangers' cars and met new people and went off with them.
Yeah. She met everybody. And they were trading things.
Yeah, because she did it. She was kind of good at it. Like,
she was super good at it.
Stalker much. At the book promotion event, Kibner reassures Elizabeth and another woman who share similar misgivings about their significant others. Matthew's friend, Jack Bellick, Jeff Goldblum, an eccentric aspiring writer, calls him to investigate when a mysterious embryonic adult body resembling Jack is found in the mud spa he runs with his wife, Nancy. Okay, so this movie spends a lot of time at that book event, and this is where what you were saying during the preview, the overacting comes into play. It kind of took me out a bit. It's
the wife,
yeah, the whole thing.
Jeff Goldblum, he played, like, don't get me wrong, I get where they were going, but that was not the character. That character in that scene that he was playing is not the character he played for the rest of the movie.
No.
So it felt almost super performative. You're just like, okay.
Yeah, could have been the first scene he shot.
Could have been.
Yeah.
It could, or they were just like more annoying, and he just got bigger and bigger. But yeah, no, definitely. But then in that scene as well, there was a lot of really great, like, extra work.
Yes.
That worked for the telling of the story.
Yep.
It was the mains that I had an issue with.
Yes.
And I'm just like Leonard Nimoy was extra, like, from that very first scene, I was like, nah, man, there's something wrong with this guy. There's something wrong with him.
Yes.
And it was like, don't get me wrong, helpful for storytelling eventually. But I'm also like, wow, you're the shittiest psychiatrist ever, because you're not actually listening to anything.
No.
Anybody's telling you.
Which makes sense later down the road.
Yeah.
But yeah, it wasn't horrible, but definitely, I don't know. Yeah.
It felt like a scene from a different movie.
Yes. Yeah. Like, yeah. And sometimes it came off like it was a stage play.
A little bit. Yeah.
So Matthew shows up to the mud spa, looks at the body and is like, looks at Jack and is like, how tall are you? How much do you weigh? And pretty much like, this is you, dude.
Can we talk about when he was like 6'4", 170 pounds? I was like, God damn, how do you have enough energy to walk, you poor skinny guy? And I'm like, I want to make you a sandwich, because God, you need to beef up a little bit. And then I was like, but wait, I remember his body in The Fly. And I was like, and he had a very nice body in The Fly. So I was like, wait a second. So I looked it up, and I was like, he spent those 8 years working out, and he gained that last 30 pounds that took him up to 200.
Yeah. And he looked a lot smaller in this movie.
He looked very small and very young.
Oh, yeah.
Like, super young.
Yeah. So they're like, this is you, Jeff Goldblum.
Yes.
So Matthew tells Jack to call Kibner. And he's going and the Wikipedia is Matthew goes to warn Elizabeth. So by now, Matthew thought Elizabeth was just there was problems. Is like, Elizabeth might be onto something here.
Yeah.
And this movie, for those listening who might not have seen it, never seen it, or it's been a while, it is a slow burn of a movie, but I did find it interesting, if a little over dramatic in some places. Like, we get that Elizabeth and Matthew are friends. They hang out, have dinner together, but you get the feeling that there may be something more. But credit where credit is due, it isn't blatant. Like,
yeah,
that's one thing about today's movie. Well, some, not all, where they go out of your way to be like, okay, dummies, this guy likes this girl. Here is some overtly indisputable quote unquote clues for the intellectually disabled masses. Here's your new Netflix movie. And you're sitting there going, oh, thank you. So he goes to warn old Elizabeth there, but discovers a semi-formed duplicate of her near the bedroom where she is sleeping. Matthew rescues Elizabeth and alerts the police, but when they arrive, Jack and Elizabeth's duplicates have disappeared. So Kibner shows up at the mud spa, and that place looked gross.
It looked super gross.
That must have been the hardest fucking thing to clean. Like, anytime anybody got out of that thing, like the amount of cleaning that you had.
Highly doubt that they were cleaning it properly. I'm just saying.
And are they? I don't even. Yeah, are they getting out of the mud to go to the bathroom? Or are they just staying in the mud? Buddy couldn't even get out on his own accord.
That's an issue.
Yeah,
that was not my favorite scene. It was interesting though. They walked in and it's like Belichick baths, and I was like, oh, okay. And then I was like, wow, those are like literal mud baths, and they're not in a room. It's just open space. Let's all just get in baths with each other.
Yeah, nice. So I'll have a mud bath like when we were kids. So Kibner shows up, and there is no body at the mud spa. What does Matthew do? Oh, when he goes to get Elizabeth, great knowledge of Jeffrey's and Elizabeth's home.
Incredible knowledge. Also, I was kind of disappointed because when he breaks into their house from the basement, I was like, is that really how you lock your door?
Yeah.
Great security, buddy. Great security. Mind you, this was San Francisco before they had such a huge houseless problem. So, I mean, I can kind of, it was not safe by any means, but they had little pockets of neighborhoods that were safer.
Yeah.
But I was just like, you just put a piece of wood across your door?
Yeah.
The fuck?
That's what I do. Don't tell my kids. They think we have an alarm system.
That's because you put bells on the piece of wood. There you go. Alarm.
Yeah, the alarm. Yeah, so there's no one there at the mud spa. Matthew gets Elizabeth out. They meet at the mud spa, I think, and they discuss what is going on and call the police to go to Elizabeth's. They arrive and nothing is there. Like, there's no pod person.
Yeah.
Jeffrey seems to be growing a garden in his bedroom. Was that always there, or was that like new?
Okay, so there was kind of like a little mini greenhouse in that little area.
Yeah.
Lots of plants, but not as many as there ended up being.
Okay.
Like, I remember watching it and being like, oh, okay, she's a microbiologist.
That's right. Yes. Yeah.
So apparently she really loves plants. Good for her. So when she comes home the first night and she's like reading about or trying to figure out what kind of flower it was, you could look through and see that there were a lot of plants, but then it turned into a jungle when the body was there. So that was like it was excessive growth and more plants and all of that. So
yeah, just the upkeep, the bugs. Ugh. Elizabeth deduces that the flowers are somehow involved and examines one at the health department offices. She finds no records of plants matching its description, while Matthew unsuccessfully attempts to alert several government agencies. So Kibner is trying to make sense of all of this and is right when he tells him, like, try seeing it from my point of view. You all sound batshit crazy. But he tells Matthew he believes him and will make sure the mayor's office takes his phone call since Kibner is friends with the mayor, or the mayor is a patient. Yeah. And then we see Kibner leave and get in the car with Jeffrey, signifying Kibner is a pod person.
Correct. I knew he was a pod person before that because when he turned around after doing that whole spiel in the spa and he turns back to Matthew and he's like, I believe you. I'm like, oh man, you're in on it.
Yeah, you're a pod people.
You're a pod people. You're a pod person.
Or pod. Well,
you're part of the pod people.
Yeah. Well, like we don't know what he identifies as. We don't assume. So this is how the bodies disappeared at the mud spa.
Yeah.
Jeffrey got the heads up when they were going to the apartment. Kibner got the heads up when they called him over about the body being there, so he was able to call and get all this stuff removed. I did really like the part of contacting the government agencies. Like it was this montage of him walking around and he's seeing people who may or may not be pod people or pod persons
using the payphone.
Yeah, using the and instead of music, it's just all these phone calls of him waiting to get through to different people, being put on hold. The agencies or mayor's office telling him that they're looking into it, but not to spread fear, not to tell anyone anything that might cause a panic. Yeah, I thought it was. And then even the dry cleaner. Yes. No, my wife's all better now. I made a mistake. Oh, she's fine.
And you're like, oh, they got to you too.
Yeah, they got to the dry cleaner. Damn it. Yeah, and by the end of the whole thing, he's gotten nowhere.
Yes.
Nowhere. They encounter several people who have been replaced by duplicates. While children around the city are being taken to also be duplicated, Matthew, Elizabeth, Jack, and Nancy nearly incur the same fate while hiding out in Matthew's apartment. While I did like this part, and this is where they were falling asleep and the flowers and pods started replicating them, did no one notice the giant human-sized pods laying around Matthew's fucking deck?
I made a fucking note about that.
Did you not notice these ginormous pods?
He fucking locks his gate garden door.
Yeah.
Walks towards the area, which has 4 fucking giant pods. Sits down where there's a lamp, so there's light. And I'm like, did nobody fucking notice?
Yeah.
Everybody's just like, oh, there's a giant incarnation of the flowers.
Yeah.
That's 4 feet long.
I wonder when I got them. Those are new.
Jesus. It's funny though, because this is just before one of the instances where one of my pet peeves in film is where they use music to tell you how to feel. Where the action is not matching it exactly. So this is one of those scenes where it kind of did that, where the music was giving you it was a creepy scene.
Oh yeah.
The music kind of changes. Like that was the music changes quickly depending on what the action is on film. And it's jarring. And I'm like, there's a better example of this later on in the film. And when we get to that part, we'll talk about it, where I was like, God damn it, stop telling me I'm supposed to be worried or scared or that something's awful is about to happen. But anyways, this was it was a creepy scene.
Yeah, other than not seeing the giant pods for a 1978 sci-fi horror PG movie, the effects mostly were great in this scene. The whole head popping out, and it was it was creepy. Yeah. And the bodies were kind of first they looked all generic, and then they were kind of forming.
It was all very
it was really cool.
Icky.
After destroying their embryonic replacements, Matthew calls the police, but realizes duplicates have taken control. Matthew only bashes his pod,
his own head. Yeah.
Bashed his head open.
He was going to start with Elizabeth's pod person.
Couldn't bring himself to bash Elizabeth.
So he bashed his own, which was a little gross.
Yeah, even a pod person he loved, Elizabeth. Yeah.
But then all the other pod people made that noise.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, that's disconcerting.
Yeah. If it was my wife's pod person, I would have went to town and gotten some frustration out.
Jeez.
Don't like how I do that? Bam! Don't like how I do that? Boom! Then I'd bash my wife's head open just to be sure.
Don't even joke about that, because somebody's going to write a complaint.
Yeah, don't tell my wife that.
Oh, whatever. She's probably watching this right now, and she's going to be like, oh, yeah? Oh, yeah. just gonna be waiting for you with a baseball bat.
Yeah, if you see a shoe come out from behind me and hit me in the back of the head, she's
All of a
listening.
sudden, the green screen falls down. What'd you say about me?
The pod people extraterrestrial. Okay, the pod people extraterrestrials emerging from later stage pods that have taken the forms and memories of sleeping humans as the originals disintegrate, pursue Matthew's group. Jack and Nancy create a distraction while Matthew and Elizabeth escape back to the city and take refuge at the health department.
It's a
Pretty brave of
distraction.
Jack.
Yeah, God bless Jack.
Yeah, I wouldn't have
He
done
goes because he thinks he's trying to save his wife.
And his wife goes with
and
him.
then his wife follows him. And I'm like, girl, let him sacrifice.
Yeah.
But this was the point where, because it had happened a few times where the music changes abruptly to kind of match the sentiment of what they want you to feel during the scene. This was the scene where it changed so abruptly and it was so loud.
Oh, yeah.
And it was like, and this is a high, like, this is a very tense and like high stress thing. And something bad's going to happen. And that music was going. And I was like, I was already I was worried about him. I was worried about Jack. Then the music started and I was like, God, I'm not worried anymore because now I'm just annoyed.
Yeah. So Jack bravely distracts all the pod people. I would have sent out one of my least favorite children to distract them while I ran away. Oh, they also passed the homeless guy and his dog that we see a couple times at the beginning. And Matthew seems to know him and talks to him. And Matthew destroys the pod replicating the homeless guy.
No, he doesn't.
Oh, he doesn't?
No, he tries to wake Harry up, Harry, the homeless guy. But literally all he does is like, Harry, wake up. He doesn't wait for Harry to wake up.
No.
He doesn't make a move. And there's a pod laying right next to him. He doesn't touch the pod. I was like, you're kind of an asshole.
So at that, the health department, and they each take speed to remain awake. Jack and Kibner's duplicates ambush and inject them with sedatives, while Kibner's duplicate explains the aliens' plan to replace humanity with serene, emotionless duplicates. Yeah, it's kind of sad when Jeff Goldblum got caught and he came back although as a pod people, Jack talked a lot more normal than his previous incarnation did.
He really did. He really did. And kudos to him. But also, can we make note of when it was like, oh, these are the pills that I think, what was his name? Harry?
The
whoever
Harry,
takes.
Eat some like Tic Tacs.
He's like, how many should I take? Well, the container says 1. Okay, take 5. And I was like, why do you want to give yourself a heart attack?
Yeah, they're going to run to the East Coast.
Yeah, like take 2. Okay, maybe 5. But all they called it is speed. And I was like, no, I want the actual pharmaceutical name. Like, tell me what it is. Speed. And I was like, that is not the name on the bottle.
No. Matthew escapes with Elizabeth after killing Jack's double and locking Kibner's in a freezer. Matthew and Elizabeth find Nancy, who has evaded the pod people by hiding her emotions. This works until Elizabeth screams, seeing a dog-human duplicate, the mutant byproduct of a damaged pod. That was great.
That was Harry and his dog.
Yeah, that was Harry and his dog.
I was like, that's kind of awesome. Honestly, the graphics were pretty. I was like, hey.
It wasn't bad for 1978.
Not bad. It's not good, but it's not bad.
Yeah, I don't know if I would have been able to control my emotions. I might not have screamed like that, but I'd been like, the fuck is that?
Yeah, no, it's really disconcerting when a dog is running to you with a human face.
Yeah. And everyone just like walk around like it's normal.
Yeah. They're like, no, it's fine.
In the commotion, they get separated from Nancy and board a truck delivering plants to Pier 70, where the pod people are processing them. Then Elizabeth and Matthew hide near the pier, where Matthew declares his love for Elizabeth while trying to keep her awake. A nearby ship is being loaded with pods to populate centers overseas. And this is where we get our bagpipes.
Yes.
I don't know why they thought that was a good idea, but they loved it so much they transferred it right into that trailer.
Wait, did we skip over their kiss?
Oh, yes, before he goes to take a look.
Just before the bagpipes, right?
Yeah.
That was
when he
worst.
convinces that says he loves her.
Yeah. That was the worst on-screen kiss I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, not a lot of chemistry there.
None.
Although she's falling asleep.
Yeah, but it was just, I was like, come on, guys. This is dead lips. Like,
yeah,
it was very disappointing. I was like, there's been looks and moments all throughout this movie, and that's what you give me? No.
Yeah, some bagpipes and
some bagpipes.
I don't get the bagpipe thing. Like maybe bagpipes were all the rage in the 70s. I don't know. Rock,
don't know.
disco, and bagpipes.
It was a Scottish boat, maybe.
Maybe. Yeah, maybe just people like them. Every house had Led Zeppelin, Houses of the Holy, Bee Gees, Saturday Night Fever, and of course the Royal Scots Dragoon Guard.
Of course.
The Highland Cathedral album.
Who doesn't have it? That's the question.
Elizabeth falls asleep and disintegrates in Matthew's arm. Great scene. Pretty good effects.
Yeah,
right until the very end, it looked great.
Yeah.
But I can forgive that little part that didn't, but yeah, it was a really good scene. Then a naked Elizabeth pod person, boobies and all, pops up out of the bush like you were watching a puppet show. Starts explaining shit to him. She's like, how's it going?
This is amazing. Don't you want this?
Horrified and enraged, Matthew flees Elizabeth's duplicate, breaks into the dock warehouse and burns down the building, destroying several plants and killing many pod people.
Mm-hmm.
I felt they could have put a little bit more effort into the scene. Like it looked at times that Donald Southerland was having trouble making chopping rope look even realistic.
Well, if that was a sharp, because he's swinging at these things, if it was a sharp axe, it would have gone through the rope no problem in one swing. Like he's doing multiple, and I was like, that.
At one time, it looked like he was doing this, like sawing it.
I was like, are you not strong enough to do this?
Yeah.
Like I can swing an axe. Why can't you?
Or they should have had someone on set. Like
yeah. Something.
An axe expert. Where are we? He hides underneath the pier as pursuers search him, and they are confidently asserting that he will inevitably fall asleep. Later, Matthew is about to enter the health department with all the duplicated employees, including Elizabeth. School children are being taken for duplication while more pods are being prepared for distribution to other West Coast cities. As they're ushering, like we said at the beginning, as they're ushering kids into the building, you hear one of them say, "Do we have to take a nap now?" I'm like, ugh.
That's one of the things I really liked about this movie. The dialogue between like extras or background people help the story along.
Yes.
And they're not just there for set decoration. And I really appreciate that.
And I liked how it goes on for a bit of Matthew walking around. And it is really making the audience wonder and guess, is he human or is Matthew woke? I mean, a pod person.
Can you please? So when he's walking in and he stops in the microbiology department and looks at Elizabeth and then keeps walking, I was like, oh, he's not a pod person. But then he like goes in and he like cuts out the article, but then he just folds it up in half instead of, and I was like, or are you a pod person?
Yeah.
I'm like, ooh.
It's very well done.
Yeah.
The way they did it. Then Nancy sees him and approaches and calls out to Matthew. And as she walks towards him, he points at her and he emits the duplicate's high-pitched scream, which is a fantastic, bleak, horrifying ending to this movie. Like one that lives up to its iconicness.
Yes. Although I will say Nancy gets a little over dramatic.
Yes.
And she did that 1970s, I'm screaming in horror, but I'm going to shake my head back and forth over dramatically.
Oh,
which has always gotten on my nerves. I'm like, you want to scream? Sure. You want to even go like, no, like fling your head? Sure. But
it
the
is,
back and forth, I'm like,
it is one of the, and you're right. That happens in quite a few 70s.
It does. It does. And then
sometimes
a hair grab where they're like, no. And you're just like, ma'am, nobody screams like that. Okay.
Yeah. Rosemary's Baby, The Omen. Yeah. There's a few of them.
Yeah. It's the 70s horror scream.
And that is our movie. Your score.
I think this is a discount rental. This is very much a niche movie, but it has a lot of really good bits in it and really great storytelling and really great filmmaking and telling the story through film. And I think a lot of that has been lost. Like now you have, monologues that tell the story, or unnecessary dialogue that kind of pushes things along because you're not showing it. This is a really good, like, film 101 kind of class where you're just like, oh, I know more about the story because of this background or this scene or this I overheard or what they showed me. A lot of creepy scenes. Very disconcerting and uncomfortable ending, because the face that Donald Southerland makes, God bless. I think it's worth a cheap rental, but I don't think a lot of people are going to be into it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yep.
So I think it is worth the rental, just because it is I would consider it a classic, and it does a lot of great things for film. And there is some really interesting, like, it's an interesting story and it's told well. There are some things that take you out of the story and take you out of the film, and there are a couple overdramatic moments or, some extra good 1970s-ness, but not enough of it to make it kind of more entertaining, you know what I mean? But yeah, no, I think it's something that I think a lot of people, especially if you're interested in sci-fi or fantasy, I think this is definitely a movie you should watch. And I would not be mad about paying $5 to rent it or $3 to rent it.
All right.
What's your score?
I did like this movie. I rented it and I was fine with it. I debated on buying it. I'm not mad that I didn't. I wouldn't have been mad if I did. This movie is a great 70s science fiction movie. Like you said, it is a classic. It is dated, which is fine if you're walking into this movie expecting a 1970s science fiction horror movie. It is well acted most of the time. It is overacted in more than a few spots. The dialogue is fine most of the time. It is very weak in parts. The effects were pretty good at most of the time, and a lot of them looked really creepy. A couple cheesy effects, and that can easily be overlooked and forgiven considering the movie's age. Will I watch it again? Yes, but it will not be anytime soon. In retrospective, I'm glad I rented it. So I say rent it. It's worth a rental. If you remember liking it and haven't seen it in a while, saying that sometimes you see it for sale at the same price. Like, remember we did Joe versus Volcano?
Yeah.
$5 rental, $5 buy. I would buy it. But I did like it. I love Donald Southerland. Brooke Adams was great. Veronica Cartwright was awesome. And yeah, she could scream.
She can scream. There were some really great performances, and it's funny because as I was thinking about this film and also listening to what you just said, it is inconsistent. And I think that's because there are some really great parts, and I think if it felt that great through the entire thing, and if they were consistent with that, this would be the ultimate classic, and I'd be like, buy it. Because when it was good, it was so good.
It was amazing. Yeah.
Yeah. And then when it wasn't good, you're just like, oh.
Yeah, it slowed down. It took you out of it a bit.
So like every time I felt like the film was building momentum and I was super invested in the story and I was like, what's going to happen? Something would happen in the film, either overacting or some shitty dialogue or the really annoying music would pop up and I'd be like, oh.
Yeah.
Well, that ruined that moment for me. But overall, it's still a good story being told.
Yep. Yeah. And Spock was good. He was Leonard Nimoy.
Creepy through it all.
Yeah.
God
Jeff
bless.
Goldblum wasn't quite Jeff Goldblum yet, but he was fun to watch. But he wasn't Jeff Goldblum yet. Like I said, I really want to watch the other Invasion movies, the movies based on, or like The Faculty, The Puppet Masters, or other Body Snatchers. But yeah, solid rental. If you got like a choice between rental and buy it at the same price, I'd buy it. I just don't see myself watching it again anytime soon. I will down the road, but
see, I don't know if I will rewatch it. I would not be mad.
No, I wouldn't be mad if I watched it again, but just to see some of those cool parts, the really, really good parts.
Like when it's good, it's good.
Yeah.
Like real good. Like, let's teach a class and use scenes from this movie good. Like, it's and I see why it's a classic.
Oh, yeah.
I think it could have been a timeless classic if it had been more consistent.
Yeah.
but it's still a classic. And I think everybody should watch it at least once. I'm probably see if I rented it for $4.99 and I could buy it for $4.99 and I bought it, I'd be mad. Because I'd be like, I'm never gonna willfully choose to watch this again. However, if it pops up on TV one day, I'm probably gonna be like, yeah, I'll watch it.
Yeah. No, I wasn't mad that I rented it. It was worth the rental. It's a solid rental.
Honestly, that 30-day free trial wasn't happening. I was fine with paying $4.99 for it.
Yeah.
And after watching it, I'm like, yeah, it's worth $4.99, definitely. And now, if it's renting for $9.99, don't do that. No.
Actually, it was on YouTube for like $3 or $4 more.
Really?
It was almost, I don't get it. Like, it was $8. I don't know why. I rented it on Amazon, and it was So
Amazon.
But if you remember, if you're like, oh yeah, that was a good movie. Yeah, it's worth the rental.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, you might not want to pay $20 to buy it or $12 to buy it, but
if you're a sci-fi
$4,
fan,
$5. Yeah,
if you're a sci-fi fan and you're into all things sci-fi, and you haven't seen this, totally worth the rental price.
Yes,
fantastic.
But I will add that if they are going to ever remake this or reboot it or whatever, I would do a series. This would be great as a 10-episode show. That's what I would like to see.
Or even give us a show post like invasion. Give me a series where there are still a few people who have not been duplicated.
Oh, start right at the beginning, and go.
Yeah.
A couple seasons, 2 or 3 seasons,
You can, I was like, I want to know how, like, do they ever take out the aliens? Do they find a way to fight against them? Do they have to just keep pretending that they have no emotions? I'm like, I want to know it all, guys.
And that's kind of the reason I was thinking, like, maybe TV show. TV show would be cool. Give me more.
Well, I like it when people explain everything, and I hate it when they do movies and they know that they're aiming for a sequel. But I'm like, don't do that. Just give me a series.
Yeah.
Tell the whole story. Don't give me this piecemeal bullshit.
Yeah. Well, this movie was aiming for we lose.
Yes, and they achieved it. And I'm impressed.
Yeah. All right. Well, then, thank you for going back to 1978 and taking a look at Invasion of the Body Snatchers with us. And until the next movie we remember liking.
And now, folks, it's time to say goodnight. We sincerely appreciate your patronage and hope we've succeeded in bringing you an enjoyable evening of entertainment. Please drive home carefully and come back again soon. Good night.